All right. What is up, guys? Kyle here with Blacklisted Voice, episode 33. We are here with Kyrie Weant. She's going to take us through kind of some of her athletic training history. We're kind of getting to know her a little bit more. You probably have seen her on the stories doing, I don't know, some crazy workout of some sort. Probably squatting and snatching. Yes. To be honest, we've been doing a lot of that lately. Yeah. What do you remember when we did the back squat cycle? And we're honestly we're kind of going through it again. Where
I don't know that we have stopped, but
yeah, right. The one last summer where we put just like had you sit there with the bar on your back.
Yeah. So that was when I was in quarantine. And
yeah.
I was in my parents' garage. Bless them for letting me set up their garage as a gym. But I had to use 2 trash cans, like the tall trash cans, as like my rack. And then you were like, the next time you're like, oh no, you're not supposed to put the bar down. And I was like, oh, okay. So I had to clean it, put it over my head, and go through the whole process. It was like legit 3 minutes with a barbell on my back. It was horrible.
Yep. I think, but now if you ever touch the worm again, the worm is going to be easy as shit.
Oh yeah, that is true. As long as the worm workout is not like the one that we had in Wadapalooza, I will be fine.
Right. I can't, man. I think I took a picture of Cannon's face on that one. Was it your face?
It could have been me. I know that my mom has one of me like in the front of the worm, and it's like halfway in my like elbow, and I'm like holding on for dear life, and I look miserable.
What?
Not even on my shoulder anymore.
Yeah. What was that workout again exactly?
So that was the one that it was. I don't remember the rep count, but we had chest to bars and toes to bar and snatches and then clean and jerks, and you could break it up between the 4 people however you want, but like you had to finish all the chest to bars before you went to toes to bar.
Yeah. It was like 100.
You had to hold the worm the whole time.
Yeah, it was like one person working. So it was like you clean the worm up at the start line with all 4 of your team, run out, do like 100 chest to bars, trade off however you wanted. So you had to run back and trade somebody out underneath the worm. And it was like feed, clean jerk, toes to bar, snatches, like something along that.
Yes.
And like all of you guys were just sitting there, like it was. Honestly, I loved it because it was.
It was great if you're sitting in the stand. But like there was one point that I turned around and I like said something to Emily or Elizabeth, and I was like, I need to drop it. She goes, you are not dropping this worm. And I was like, yes, ma'am. Okay. I will keep going.
You're like, okay. I don't need to drop this. I was
like, no, I don't. Okay, I'm sorry.
That's sweet. Yeah, so that was Wadapalooza, the last Wadapalooza
that was right before shutdown.
Yeah. So, but you've had a pretty extensive like competition career. You've been competing since 2013, right?
Yeah. So I've been doing CrossFit since 2012. And then we had like a small gym like in-house gym competition. And maybe that was 2013. And that was also the year that some of our coaches went to regionals.
Okay. What gym were you at then?
I was at CrossFit Vitality.
Okay.
That was still is one of the bigger ones in the Charlotte area.
Yeah.
So I started there, went to regionals and just watched.
Okay.
And I was, from that moment, I was like, this is what I want to do.
Because you were a collegiate athlete too, correct?
Yeah. So I played soccer all through college. I mean, basically my whole entire life. And up until finding CrossFit, it was 2 years out of college. I was going to like Anytime Fitness.
Yeah. Were you just doing like traditional like bodybuilding stuff?
Yeah,
Or
like I was still doing some of the stuff that we were doing in school. Like
yeah.
I would squat, we would do like chest day and stuff like that. But that was about it.
Chest day for a soccer player is interesting.
Yeah, so and I don't know if that was mainly because like when we were in season, we would do like upper body on like game days just so we wouldn't kill our legs.
Got it.
But yeah, I remember like doing a lot of like incline bench,
interesting
rows and stuff like that. Yeah.
I guess that does make a little bit of sense, like trying to push other players off of you or like fight for a ball. You know, maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
That was like 20. So that was 2007 to 2010.
That's when you played.
Yes, that was when I was in college.
Yep.
So.
And then 2 years after that, you found CrossFit.
Yeah, my brother introduced me to CrossFit.
Okay.
We walked into the gym. There was a girl working out, and I looked at him, and I go, I don't want to look like that.
Oh, shit.
And here I am, like 6 months later, I was like, that's what I want to look like. I changed my mind.
You like drank the Kool-Aid hard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I did classes for maybe 6 months.
Okay.
And one of the girls, like after I went to regionals and everything, one of the girls was like, hey, if you want to be serious about this, I would suggest finding a coach.
Okay.
And
wow, this is back in 2012 she was saying that?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. She was way ahead of the game.
Yeah. So she was one of those that she, and still is, like body weight ninja.
Okay.
And once she would always get to read, like she was always, I guess, top 5 during the Open in the Mid-Atlantic.
Yeah.
But then would go to regionals and just get demolished by the weights.
Got it.
So the Open was never really something she had to train for.
Yeah.
So whenever it would come to regionals, that's when she'd be like, all right, here we go, gotta train.
Okay. Yeah.
So I started working with her coach at the time.
Okay.
And then 2 years was with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when I changed and found Training Think Tank.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So back in, I guess that would be 2014, 2015 timeframe?
2014, because I had qualified for Granite Games in 2014.
Okay.
With the coach I was with. And then I, right in the middle of like qualifying and all that, I switched coaches.
Okay.
Whoops.
Yeah, it happens. Part of the business.
Yeah, it was one of those like, you've gotten me really far, but it's not getting me far enough.
Yeah. You needed something a little bit different.
Yeah, and so that's when I found Training Think Tank, and then gosh, I was with them 3 or 4 years, maybe 4.
Yeah.
And when I was with them, I did Granite Games in 2014.
Yep.
Wadapalooza 2015.
Okay.
And then I went to team regionals in 2015.
Yeah, that was the year.
That was, I think, the first year that they morphed everybody into.
Yeah. So it was a lot harder to go, 1, and then 2. The actual event was a lot harder as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think it was like they took the top 15 teams instead of the top 30.
Yep.
And we were right on that line. Like,
okay.
I don't even think the year that we went to regionals that my scores helped us get there.
Oh, wow. Okay. Sweet.
Yeah. But leading up to all of that, did you ever know about my Wadapalooza situation from 2015?
No, I don't think you told me about this. So, because Wadapalooza happens in January, or it used to happen in January. Then the Open obviously in February, and then regionals was in May, June timeframe.
Yes. So this was right before, or I guess before the time when like everybody had a nutrition coach.
Okay.
I wasn't eating right. I was overtraining, overdoing everything, not eating enough.
Yep.
Got to Miami.
Okay.
Didn't feel so hot. Found out that I had the flu.
Oh, wow.
And I had a tonsil abscess.
Oh, shit.
I spent that whole weekend in the hospital in Miami.
So you didn't even get to compete?
No.
Oh, man, that sucks.
Yeah, because I was almost to the point where, like, if it was just the flu, I would have. Now that we're in the middle of a pandemic, I can't say I wouldn't do it now, but I was like, I'll be fine. I'll work out.
Right.
Like, I paid all this money to go down here. It's just a little flu.
Right.
And
like, back then, it was like no concern for anybody else. It was like, yeah,
fine.
Like I can tough it out.
So far away from people, it'll be fine.
Yeah. Like, and if they get sick, they'll be sick on day 2 and 3. I'll be feeling better.
It'll be fine. And then found out I went to urgent care because I could not breathe. Like my throat was closing. And so the lady was like, yeah, you're going to need to go to the hospital. Your throat, like you have no airway whatsoever. Put me right in a room. I spent the whole weekend in the hospital.
Yeah.
And this is Jonathan's, my now fiance's, first competition with me.
Congrats.
Thank you.
You told me on the other week you guys are going to look at rings. I didn't know it's official now, so congrats.
It is official. So this was his very first competition with me.
Oh man.
Taste of CrossFit, and he's like, yeah, I'm never doing this again.
Yeah, that's it.
So we got to see the inside of a really nice hospital in Miami.
Cool. How's it compared to the ones in North Carolina?
Dude, we were on the rich side of Miami. We were like the Coral Gables side of Miami.
Okay.
So, like, this place was really nice. I had overlooking the ocean.
Oh shoot. Yeah, I'm gonna stay here for a couple extra days.
I was like, can I have an apartment like this?
Yeah. And then you get the bill for the stay, and you're like,
that bill was pretty rough.
Yeah.
So when I got back, I was probably like 15 to 20 pounds lighter.
Oh wow. Okay.
Just because they wouldn't really let me eat. I was just like on an IV all weekend.
They're like trying to like keep all friction probably off of the
because my throat was so swollen that I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Or eat anything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then when we got back, they were like, all right, we're gonna start training for the Open. And I was like, okie dokie, here we go.
Try.
135 feels super heavy now.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like barely get by during the Open. And after the Open, I think one of the girls that was going to like train with us, something happened and she could not go to regionals. So her score still counted and helped us get to regionals. But I was like, woo, I get to go.
Sweet.
By default, I was the only female left that could.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you're kind of like you were the alternate that year and then had to step into an actual run. Yeah, for sure. So how did it go there then?
I mean, we did all right. We were still like, so I want to say we were one of the either 13th, 14th, or 15th going in to qualifying. So we knew we were going to stay like towards the end. But that year they did, the very first workout was heavy deadlifts and chest to bar pull-ups.
Oh, that's right. That was the first workout.
And it was like you and your partner had to deadlift together.
Yeah. Tandem deadlifting.
Yeah, I think that was like one of the first years that we had seen that.
That was, let's see, that was the first year we had seen that, because the year before it was like you deadlifted facing each other with two separate bars. Yeah. Yep.
And then the chest to bars were synchronized as well.
Yep. And it was like 45, and then like, what was it, like
20, 2 rounds and then 3 rounds of something.
It was like, yeah, it was like 2 rounds of like 23, 22 or something like that. Yeah. And then it was 21, 15, 9 was the last one.
Yes. And so the very first workout.
This is back when there was teams of 6 also.
Yeah, so there were, so it was
teams of 6,
3 groups. And the plan was for our first group to go unbroken. They were both.
Shit, that is brutal.
Yes, they were gonna. I think they were breaking up the chest or the deadlift, but they were gonna go close to unbroken on the chest to bars.
Wow. Okay.
And there was a miscommunication, and the guy dropped the bar, and the girl was still holding on. So she basically wrecked her SI that weekend. Like she barely walked off of the floor that day.
The next workout did not favor your SI either.
No. So then like she was able to keep going, but me and the other girl pretty much had to like do everything else. So that really didn't help us very well.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I think
you guys would have came off
or something, but
I mean, if you guys went 45, I mean, obviously break the deadlift, but if you guys went 45 chest to bar, like you guys would have been coming off that bar in a really good place for that.
Yeah. And year. Like they had practiced it. It went really well in practice. And, you know, me and my partner, we were last. So we were just gonna do what we could.
Right.
But theirs ended up taking a lot longer because she could not get into those chest to bars.
Yeah. I'm sure.
After that. So
yeah. That year was freaking dangerous. Like we had a girl. So do you remember sorry to jump ahead a few workouts. No, do you remember the 50 GHDs, waterfall into ring muscle ups, guys go, girls go?
Yeah.
So at our competition setting, this is in the Minneapolis Convention Center. Like you obviously had your lane that your GHD was set up in, but you had to run onto the concrete, not the rubber matting, to get into the GHD. So this girl just freaking slid and ate shit on the concrete. No. Our concrete was crazy slippery for whatever reason.
Yeah. And
ended up, this team was in like first place. Like they were killing it, like second or first place. And this is when Mayhem was like
in that region.
They were in our region. And this team was freaking killing it. And this girl slid into the GHD. And next thing I remember, I just remember like turning around and like they weren't sending anybody else. And I was like, what? That's weird. She ended up literally, like, if this is your kneecap, she split it horizontally in half and it separated. Like she hit it on the edge of the GHD and it broke her kneecap in half.
Like the 1 in a million shot.
Yeah. So like, needless to say, she could not finish that.
No, not at all.
And they ended up obviously taking last place in that workout. And I mean, the team finished the weekend and almost qualified for a spot, which they could, if they had qualified, they could have sent their alternate. To the team. Yeah, but it was just like I mean, just freaking crazy. So
that sounds horrible.
Yeah, crazy. Sorry. So then the next workout was the 75 snatch, like 30 rope climb or something like that. And then 150, 50, 150 or something like that.
And then, like the guys went and then the girls go.
Yeah.
And then There was the max snatch, I think.
That was the next day, right?
Yeah, that was the next day.
That was the second event of that day, wasn't it?
I
Wasn't
think
the
so.
first one?
There was a run and a wall ball one.
Yeah, that one was brutal.
Oh, I puked after that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for that one you had guy. It was like 800, 600, 400 meter runs, and
Yeah.
each. So you were in pairings, but it was the whole team going. So like a guy and a girl would run the 800, a guy and a girl would run the 600, a guy and the girl would run the 400.
Yeah, and that one was still waterfall too because we only had one runner.
One runner, yeah.
So like I had to go first. I ran 800.
Yep. And then you had to go out and finish your wall balls before the other individual got done with the run.
Yeah, so I had to be done with the wall balls before he could get off the runner.
Right.
And that was also the year that like you had two separate wall ball targets. So you had to do like 25 on one, and then you had to move over and do 25 on the other.
And I think this is the first year they did this as well. They were the clear targets on the inside of the rig as well.
Yes. It was all messed up. All kinds of new. Yeah, so I had to go first on that one because I was the endurance athlete.
You're like, this is not an endurance workout. I'm dying. I literally just PR'd my 800 meter, and now you want me to go do 50 wall balls?
Yeah. And I just remember it felt like the longest haul from my wall ball to the finishing mat. Like I was just like drunk.
Yeah.
Over there. And you know, you're in like, ours was in a convention center. So AC is cranking.
Yeah.
So it's that feeling of like you have cotton mouth, but you're dry heaving and everything is going on right now. And like my dad's trying to give me water and it's just not happening. So I had to like run off and go throw up, and I came back and like we still weren't done. I was like, yeah, way to go, guys. That's awesome.
You should have just puked on the floor. That would have been way cool.
That would have been horrible. So bad.
I mean, I'm sure they've had to have had that at some regional somewhere, you know?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, there was a trash can. I contemplated it and I was like, oh no, I'll just go be in private.
That's sweet. Yeah, that workout was hard. Like real. Yeah. And then it was the snatch handstand walk.
Yes.
And
PR'd my snatch at 135 pounds.
Heck yeah.
It was the sketchiest 135.
Doesn't have to look good. But the thing is, like at live competitions, like you go out there and you freaking just sit for so long, like so long that you just like get so cold.
Well, and that's when they think that a realistic window of hitting a 1 rep max snatch is a minute.
Yes, you had literally 2 attempts. And that was, jeez, I remember everything. This was the year that they had the new collars, the double clip collars, which everybody has experienced now. But when you're just experiencing that for the first time and you had no idea that there's like the second click, you're trying to yank this collar off with only a minute and it's like barely moving. Yeah. Like, you're like, cool.
And I remember because I actually, my mom sent me like a memory of this like a few months ago. And she was like, you remember when this happened? I was like, oh yeah, I do.
You're like, please never send me this again.
And it was like, you started on one side of the floor. Yep. You had to walk like probably, I don't know, 50 feet. You had to get to your spot to snatch. They had to see your number on your arm to make sure you are who you are.
We didn't do that.
We had to do that. And then you have to make sure that the weight's what you want. You snatch, and then you're like, oh, okay, there's my minute window.
Right. And then you're like, and I'm going to have to try and fucking change the weights for the next person coming out because when your minute window ends, theirs starts.
Yes.
So it's like you're trying to change the weights also for this next person that's coming out so they can try and get 2 attempts.
Yeah. And you're just shaking like hell because you just max snatched.
Right. Yeah.
After a 20-minute sit and wait for your warm up.
Yep. Yeah. Man, that event was.
It was so.
Yeah. And then they like rolled all the bars off the floor and you had to go max distance handstand walk.
Yes.
Or 100 feet for time is what it was.
It was, yeah, each person had to do 100 feet. And like, I don't know why, like this, it's so vivid for me because I was nervous as hell because I couldn't handstand walk at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 of our people went. Our 4th guy was going. So our 4th person was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And he just goes all out, goes as far as he can. And I was like, oh shit, this is not going to be good.
Uh-oh.
And went like half the distance and then could not get any further.
Oh no.
And so we're just like, I'm just sitting there. I'm like, hey there, hey member, I remember you.
Yeah.
The people in the audience.
Yeah. To put some context on this, like this is the year before they had people walking 120 feet and Sam Briggs got a 0 on the workout because she didn't, and you had one shot. Whatever you got over 10 feet was your score. Yeah. So if you went over 10 feet, that was it. And Sam Briggs literally got a 0 on the workout because she couldn't get past 10 feet or got past 10 feet and that was it. So like a 1 or something like that. So like handstand walking. So that was on the individual side of things. Then they moved it to the team side of things. And so it was still kind of like a skill that people were learning. Yeah. And so like 100 feet inside of a workout was at that point in time was still a pretty aggressive like walk for some people.
Yeah. Because this was back when it was the 5-foot increment.
Yeah. Well, I think they did 10 at regionals. It was 10 at yeah.
And like you didn't have to start behind the line. You could kick up in the middle of it.
Yes.
And
yeah. Yeah.
Because I was gonna be one of those people that just like took a running start.
Yeah.
Just hoped.
Ripped it in the yep. The good old days.
Gonna be me.
The good old days, yeah. Where like they're like 50-foot handstand walk, and it was really like 35 because you could basically jump 15 feet of it.
Yeah. It's now those like fail videos of you see people, they're like basically horizontal and they're like in a wheelbarrow and you're just like
it's just moving
your hands. And you just put your feet down wherever you fall.
Yeah. You're like, is that handstand walking? I don't know.
You used to do that.
If you had a judge that gave it to you, you could get away with it. Yep. That's funny. And then the next one was the GHD muscle up one. And that workout was also pretty nasty.
Yes. I think I had to go second on that one.
And it was second of the girls, correct?
Yes. So it was the girls went first on this one.
That's right. Yep.
And then did this one have the hang cleans in it?
I thought this one was the thrusters, but maybe the thrusters were the first one. Rope climb thrusters. That's right. Yeah, that's what it was.
That was is it Randy?
Yep. So this one was that one was like the combo of Randy and then the hero workout that I can't remember the name of off the top of my head. That was like 21, 15, 9 thrusters and like 15, 12, 9 of rope climbs. Yeah. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So the first workout was the combo of those. So they put snatches, rope climbs, and thrusters in it. And then the second one was the GHDs, muscle ups, and hang power cleans.
Yeah. Because I remember getting to the hang power cleans and I was like, yes, I got this.
Yeah. You're like, finally, this is over. Let's go. Let me rip this shit.
Because like 2014 was when I got a muscle up.
Okay.
And so I was okay at them.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I got one. Yay.
Yeah.
Got another.
Yeah. It was still like hit or miss on whether you were like getting them. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So we had that workout. They had the heavy, I guess it was heavy back then. It was like 135 hang power cleans.
Yeah. Did
Um,
you have to go right from the GHD into the rings for yours?
yes.
You were the first one. Yeah. How dizzy were you going into those rings?
Well, so I was the second female to go. We had one
Oh,
girl
okay.
that was pretty good at muscle ups. So her plan was to do the GHDs and just hit a big set a few times, like hit threes or fours. That was what
Yep.
they had
Yep.
back then.
Yep.
Um, and then by the time I got there, I was supposed to just do one or two, get
Okay.
like a quick second of rest, and then
Yeah.
um, our third person, she was the one that was injured, so she was just going to give
Okay.
us what she could.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But she actually, for not being able to walk very well, like the week after, she actually did give us a lot of help.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, those I can't imagine those hang power cleans were,
They did not feel good for her, no.
yeah, probably contributed to not being able to walk the week after.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, so I don't remember being super dizzy. I've never been good at GHDs. I mean, we found that out at the quarterfinals workout just recently, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, I just remember coming off of them and I like tried to hit a double on my muscle ups and I was like, well, that was dumb.
Yeah.
Just stay to singles.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have not done that combo before, like do it. It is
Yeah, it's
brutal
rough.
on you to try and turn over after that combo.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And then that last workout on Sunday was just freaking chaos.
that was
So
the waterfall.
yeah.
And that was, I think, the first time that they had strict handstand push-ups for team.
They did have it the year before.
Oh, did they?
But it was like 963. It was like 18 or something. It was something very manageable.
Yeah.
And this year was, well, not that 30 isn't unmanageable, but for a lot of females at the time, that was
right.
Like almost every team, unless you were like the team that won the region, had a girl that was going to struggle on the strict handstand push-ups.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I think the harder part was going from the strict handstand push-ups into that handstand hold. I don't know if you got that far into the workout, but
I don't know that, because so the guys went first.
Okay.
And then I was the second to last person.
Okay.
So
Yeah. So
the one that was injured went last.
Okay. So to give people an idea of this workout, it was basically 30 reps of everything. And after you got done with something, you had to basically go into a static hold while the person behind you finished whatever that 30 rep was. And you could set your order however you wanted. So started with a cow row. From the cow row, you went to a static deadlift hold. If you dropped the deadlift, the rower had to stop.
Yep.
From there, you went to strict handstand push-ups. From strict handstand push-ups, you went to iso hold, handstand. From iso hold, handstand, you went to 30 toes to bar. From toes to bar, you went to hang.
Dead
and from
hang.
hang, you went to an axle bar walk to finish out the workout.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, overhead axle bar walk. Yeah. It was actually a pretty creative workout. And it would be very interesting to see what some teams could do on that now.
Oh, for sure.
All of that you can just freaking rip on now.
I mean, and I think it was like a 15 or 20-minute cap. Like I would imagine that people would be like sub 10 for all 6 people to get through.
Right. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. So you ended up not getting to the handstand hold afterwards? Or?
I think I might have gotten to the handstand hold, or I was in the handstand push-ups.
Okay. Yeah.
So we made it so that the girl that went last, she was the one that was injured earlier in the weekend. Mm-hmm. I held the bar while she rode. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know if she just waited until we were done with the handstand push-ups. But my judge was so sweet. He gave me so many reps.
Yep.
He would be like, get a little lower.
Yeah.
Get a little lower.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm gonna push it until you tell me no.
You're like, my hair, my strand of hair that's sticking out, touch that, it counts. He's like, yeah, good point.
And that was, I want to say, the year like before they really got to tell people like you can't put a bun on top, like you can't have your hair tied on top of your head.
Right.
You couldn't do like the poof in the front.
Right.
We tried to get away with everything.
Oh, heck yeah. I always tell
like your ponytail is like resting on the floor and like you're just hitting your ponytail.
Yeah. I always tell people, like, when you go out onto the competition floor, do whatever you want until you're told no. Then you start adjusting.
Yep, basically.
But once you
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, once you're told no, then freaking play by the rules.
Very true. That's like every year for the Open when like chest to bars come around, like all my females in the gym are like, I wore my push-up bra today. And I'm like,
yeah.
Yay!
Yay.
An inch closer.
Right.
I mean, get away with it until you're told no.
Yeah. So after regionals, like what did you kind of was like your goal?
After regionals, that was 2015.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say, gosh, what did I do after that? I think I took a little bit of a break. I think that's when we, Jonathan and I moved to Mississippi for 2 years.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was just a matter of like surviving at that point. Mm-hmm. New gym, new people, find a job. And it really wasn't until I saw you at Granite Games that I got back.
Yeah, because we saw each other at Fittest.
I did do the Fittest.
Yeah, in 2018. Yeah. 2018. And then Granite Games in 2019 is when we saw each other again. And that's
when we started.
Yep, shortly after that. Yep.
Yeah, so I forgot I went to the Fittest. So I did the Fittest experience. And that was like the first time I've done the Fittest, first time I did the Fittest experience, and then first individual competition since 2015.
Okay. Dang, that's some time in between those two.
Yeah. I mean, like we had moved, new state, new everything. Health really wasn't that great. I think I really found out a lot about myself at Wodapalooza and how, I guess, sensitive I was to training.
Yeah.
And I never really recovered from that because I went straight from the hospital at Wodapalooza into training for the Open and the regionals.
Right. Can you go into that a little bit more, or do you care about going into that a little bit more? Because I know we've like what's your allergies and stuff like that?
Oh yeah. So I want to say at that point I was going into a little bit of adrenal fatigue.
And which during that time frame was very common for people.
Yes. I mean, I had probably gone 3 years without a cycle.
Yep.
And just thought it was normal, you know. Hey, I'm training a lot. My body weight's down. Everything's cool. It's fine.
Basically, the cocktail was too much volume and intensity, not enough sleep, overdosed on caffeine, and not eating enough.
Yes.
Was basically how people operated back then.
Yes, very much. Because even though I was getting programming from a coach, I was still like jumping in on a class probably twice a week. I ran the endurance program at the gym I was at. So I'd jump in on an endurance program twice a week.
Right.
So I was adding probably 4 to 6 extra hours of training on
Right.
top of what I was already doing.
Yeah.
Not smart. Before we knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
kind of before we knew. It was
yeah.
like people knew, but it wasn't like the CrossFit hadn't gone through the full cycle of seeing the actual repercussions of that and
Right.
the catastrophe that it can like do to your body and your health, if that makes sense.
Well, and that's when like nobody was doing nutrition programming.
Right. Right.
Like you had the handful of people that were getting into the nutrition world, into CrossFit, and then now everybody does nutrition.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a little bit of a saturated market.
Yeah. So, yeah, so going into that, and this was also, I was doing a lot of HRV training, or
Okay.
not training, but like,
Monitoring.
yeah, variations, I guess. This was back before Whoop was a thing.
Yep.
And every morning I would wake up, I would put my heart rate monitor on. And I had an app that would tell me if I was green, yellow, or red, basically.
Yep.
And based off of what I woke up as, that's what kind of training I could do that day.
Yeah.
So I had like each week my coach would give me like, here's 7 or 6 workouts, 5 workouts, whatever. And depending on what you wake up as, you're going to do this variation of it. And so that was probably 3 to 6 months, I would say, of doing that.
Yeah.
And we moved right in the middle of all of that.
So another like stress that's gonna just like tank your HRV.
Yeah. The only good thing that came out of that is I didn't have a job when we moved.
Okay. Oh, nice.
So I was legit sleeping 13 to 15 hours.
Well, that will catch you up real fast.
Yeah. I mean, like I would sleep all day or all night, half into the day. I'd go like look for a house, and then I would come home and take a nap.
Take another nap. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was very well rested.
Yeah. Well rested, but still not recovered from the hole that you put yourself in. Like
still
definitely
in a really shitty place, but
yeah. There's two, those are two different things. Recovery and rest are definitely two different things.
Yes.
So it took you like 6 to 8 months to get out of that then.
Yeah. So I took a long time to get out of that. And then one of the gyms that was in the area, the head coach and her husband were training think tank athletes at the time and still are. So I kind of had an easy in with training partners at that point. So I started going up there and then got a job coaching, like 10 hours a week. Wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
And then bounced around with coaching jobs at the time. Then we decided to move back home. We decided in a week.
Oh, wow. That was quick. Yeah.
Jonathan was really unhappy with his job, and I was just kind of working, like I said, 10 hours a week still at that point. I was like making $300 a week. Like you just can't live on that shit. So
yeah, you're like, okay, time for a change.
Yeah, so we needed something new, so we just decided to move back home. And yeah, I mean, it was probably the best decision we've ever made.
Yeah.
Move back to the Charlotte area.
Yeah. So like kind of like getting back to some of the health stuff, like, so it wasn't until about last year that you started getting tested for things though, right? Like allergies and stuff like that, or?
Yeah. So I had gone to like a functional medicine doctor back before we moved to Mississippi. I was on any and every supplement
Mm-hmm.
that you can think of. I mean, I was taking like 13 pills a day.
Okay. Yeah.
And I will say, I think it helped get out of some of that adrenal fatigue
Yeah.
at the time, but it just kind of messed with me more. Like I went to some doctors and they were like, oh, your thyroid levels are really low. We want to put you on thyroid medication.
Mm.
So the whole 2 years that I was in Mississippi, I was on and off of thyroid medication and birth control.
Okay.
So it was try this, try that, let's try
Yeah.
this, let's come off of that. So like my body was just wrecked even more so because of
Right.
that.
Right. Okay.
And the nutrition coach I had at the time, I felt like I was just another like low level person.
Just like
Like we
another
would
number to them.
Yeah, I was just he
Yeah.
was just getting money from me every week,
Right.
or
Right.
every month. So I was totally still under eating.
Mm-hmm.
Not to the point that I was before, but I mean I still wasn't, for what I was training, I was not being fed at all.
Right. Right.
So and even in all that time with all the stress and everything, I was probably 15 pounds heavier
Mm-hmm.
than I am now.
Yeah.
So moved back to Charlotte. That is when my nutrition coach now,
Yeah.
Kinsey Riley, that was when she was at my gym in Charlotte.
Okay.
And at the time I had stopped personal programming, or individualized training and all that. So I was just following a blog.
Yeah.
Everybody at the gym in Charlotte followed Misfits. So that's what I did for a little while.
Yep.
And she started with me with nutrition stuff, and I instantly, like, the amount of food I had was amazing. But how quickly I leaned out because of all of that food is
Right.
just, it was really hard at first because I was like, oh, 250 grams of carbs. Holy shit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Dropped weight, got lean body mass. Like it was just unreal how
Yeah.
quickly everything happened.
Yeah.
Felt so much better. And gosh, I've been with her ever since. So that was 2017, 2018.
Okay.
2017.
Yeah.
And did the fittest experience.
Mm-hmm.
Did Team Granite Games after that.
Yep.
And then since being with you, done Wadapalooza and the fittest experience again.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Is that the only two that I've done?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some local comps.
Right. Yeah, I've done some local things, but that's like the biggest.
Yeah. I feel like there was one more.
That I've been in.
Yeah, I felt like there was one more, but I can't remember if there was or not. I don't.
There could have been.
I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. So one thing that I kind of wanted to like hit on is like just so fittest obviously was one of the first biggest competitions after quarantine. Yes. And one thing that I was very impressed with that you were able to do through quarantine is like continue to get way better throughout quarantine. I think at fittest you ended up PRing your chest to bar pull-ups like inside of a workout and then like held the same sets for that, or
I mean I was holding 10s in that workout.
Yeah. So it was like so yeah, like I kind of want to chat a little bit about like what your mindset was like throughout quarantine and how you were able to like take quarantine with like minimal equipment and nobody to train with and turn it into a positive for you versus like kind of like letting your fitness fall off, like I think happened to a lot of people.
Yeah. So it was probably 2 months into quarantine. it all happened in the same week. You and Kinsey had a really rough heart to heart with me. I mean, I just remember her basically being like, if you want to keep doing this shit, like, you can't keep fucking around. I was just like, gosh, okay. And you kind of said the same thing. And at one point you were like, the shit or the hard stuff that you do now is gonna pay off in 6 months.
Yep.
It's gonna pay off in a year. And even though like we don't really can't see where it's gonna go, like you just have to trust that it's gonna happen. And I was like, okay, something just clicked and it was different. And I think maybe a little bit of it too was I was getting a little burnt out on coaching a little bit. And I think as coaches, we all get into this because it really is super exhausting. 5 to 6 hours a day. Like I might not be working 40 hours a week, but holy shit, it's exhausting coaching for 1 hour. And I think I was just getting to a point that it was just overdoing it. And I was kind of like, all right, now all I have to focus on is training. That's all it is. You get to be a quote unquote games athlete and just train. Right? Like train, eat, sleep, recover.
You started to kind of live that life, and it was kind of like a realization that like I can actually dedicate myself to this.
And you know, I had access to the gym that I coached at. But I did take stuff over to my parents' garage and did some stuff there just for a change of scenery. And so, and I also didn't want to be that person that was like, look at me, I get to go to the gym and you can't.
Right.
So I think it was about 2 days a week you had me in the gym doing gymnastics. And then the rest of the time I was in the garage, and I don't know, it just became fun again.
For sure.
And you know, that was the only thing I had to focus on. So yeah, I don't know. It's like hard to explain what was going through my mind at the time. But something clicked and changed, and it's kind of stuck with me ever since now. So
for sure. I mean, you know, like looking back on it, like it was, you know, this is like kind of the importance of a coach is like you have two good ones, you know, so it's like they both came at you at the same thing, and you're like, you know, you might hear it from one, but when you hear it from both of them, you're like, okay, this is this maybe is important, you know. Maybe can't just like in one year and out the other this one.
And I think it's different too. Like, you know, you can have a coach, but like both of you are like more than coaches to me. Like you're coaches and your friends, right? So coming from a place of, hey, I'm still your coach, but like I'm your friend and I have your best interests, where it means a little bit different.
That's interesting.
It's not just some random person, you know, that you send your blog to once a week and they're like, okay, cool, I'll send you something the next day. It's more of like that relationship that you have with that person that I think it hit a little bit different. Like these people really do care about me and want me to really succeed. They're not just taking my money.
For sure. It's interesting that you put it like that. I haven't heard it like put in that perspective before, but you know, as a coaching organization, like I feel like that's something that we try and do and be a little bit more proactive about. Is making sure that we are involved in kind of like the day to day and like knowing you as a person and what kind of drives you and gets you to tick. And, you know, usually a friendship does develop out of that. Like I don't think there's an athlete that has stopped working with me and started working with somebody else that I'm like, oh, you know, angry or upset about, you know?
Dang it, they left.
Yeah, yeah. You know, like I just want to see you know, success of everybody that I've worked with and
Right.
watch them continue to grow. And like one thing I tell people a lot of the time too is like, you know, even Tom Brady is under different coaching now, you know, like he had Belichick for 20 plus years and
Right.
goes to Bruce Arians, you know, it's so hard for somebody to stay with one coach for the entire duration of their
Oh, for
CrossFit
sure.
career, you know?
Yeah.
And like, you know, you might leave and then realize like, oh, you know what, like that other individual I was working really well with and come back. But
Yeah.
you know, sometimes it takes like that kind of leaving to come back to see what one else is out there on the market, and like two,
Right.
how much your coach actually does dedicate and put in time to your training, you as a person, and like making sure that they're making sure you're recovered and not just giving
Right.
you shit to kill you,
Yeah.
basically.
Well,
You know?
because I mean, like, if you think about it, there are a shit ton of blogs out there that you can pay 20-30 bucks a month for, right?
Totally.
They're good programming.
Hmm.
Is it going to get me better? Probably. Is it going to
Yeah,
get me really good or where I want to be? Probably not, because
right.
it's not specifically for me. And like, if I have a rough or an off day and I'm like, man, this is really hard,
Hmm.
I can text you and you're like, oh, okay, we'll change it to this. I
Yeah,
can't do that if I have a blog. I'm like, fuck, I suck today.
yeah.
You know, like, man, I'm
Right.
a really shitty athlete. But
Yeah.
really, like, your body's just telling you that you just can't handle that volume today and you
Right.
just need
Right.
to change it.
And then like the other thing on top of that too is like, so you just talked about some of like the negative thoughts that pop into your head, like when you do have a bad day on a blog, like a coach will recognize that about you and be like,
Right.
look, like these things happen. Like
Right.
you're going to have days that are off, and like,
Yeah.
know that those thoughts can come into your head and be like, I understand you might be feeling like this right now, but like,
Yeah.
and that's okay. But remember, like you've been training hard for the last 3-4 weeks now. Like it's probably time for us to hit a deload, and we were pushing it a little bit more. Like
Right.
you were going to run into this eventually, you know,
Yeah.
and kind of calm down some of those negative thoughts that you might be having inside of your head, and like
Yeah.
get you to kind of rethink it.
Because I think, I mean, that has happened with me before. Even like, I'm like, man, I am so tired. You're like, well, we're gonna deload next week. Do you want to do it now? Like,
Yeah.
maybe we'll just go ahead and deload tomorrow.
Right.
Was planning last week, but we'll do it now.
Yeah.
Um, so, you know, things can always change on the fly.
Right.
But you know, like I said, I think it's really that relationship that you have with people. Like, not to say that any of my coaches before were not good coaches.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely got me to a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
But no one has tapped into this mental stage that I'm at now,
Right.
like we have.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just because I'm at a different stage in my
Yeah.
CrossFit career, and life and all that as well.
Yeah.
But if I would have known this at like 23, man,
Yeah.
got a little
Right.
further.
Yeah. It's one of those things like, so like my philosophy has definitely changed throughout the years from coaching. Like, you know, when I first started, it was like typical level 1, like intensity, make sure your movement in these 3 patterns is really good. Like,
Right.
and then you start to kind of learn a little bit more, and you're like, okay, maybe it's not so much about intensity. Maybe like our movement quality matters. Like, let's try and like open up your breadth of movement quality. And like, it eventually it kind of evolved to the point where like, yes, like kind of like you said, like there are a lot of really good training programs out there that you can get
Right.
very, very far on. But when you start to look at what kind of separates a lot of the top level individuals, like run back to Tom Brady, for example, like he is not the most talented quarterback on the football field,
Right.
but he understands what he needs to do to elicit the best out of himself and his teammates. And a perfect example of that, and this is kind of a controversial topic, but like when he got in Tyrone Matthews' face, I don't know what was said during that.
Right.
But it kind of rallied his team and got his team, you know, performing a little bit better. And so like, you know, seeing some of that and like listening to, you know, Michael Jordan talk in The Last Dance and like, you know, even the death of Kobe Bryant and like going back and watching videos from him, you're like, these people and these high level performers have a different mindset about them. And you can listen to Mike Tyson on Joe Rogan, and that is the, you know, almost the number one commonality behind all of these high performers is the mindset that they have. Because you can go and you can find a blog and you can get far on a blog, but until you start to develop somebody's mindset and get them to believe in themselves and believe that they can be better, you're only going to get so far in the sport, and you're only going to get so close to your genetic potential. And so if you can start getting an individual to believe in who they are, what they are, and what they're capable of, they're going to go freaking just leagues ahead of what anyone ever thought of them.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, you know, who knew it just took two people to tell me to man the fuck up.
Yeah. Yep. It's a different for everybody, though. It's a different for everybody.
It takes a little time. But you know, even in all of that too, like the training side changed, but also the nutrition side changed as well. Like I was that person that would be like really good for a week and then, or for like the weekday.
Yeah.
And then the weekend would come around and I'd be like, hey, let's go have some drinks somewhere. Or, you know, let's go have chips and queso and eat everything in sight. And then pick back up on Monday. Not really realizing how horrible that really was for me. And even having that conversation with Kinsey, you know, the nutrition went from tracking every so often to tracking every single day, making sure that the weekends were good. And tell you what, having Saturday and Sunday and being on point with your nutrition, and you come in on Monday and you're like, wow, I feel good.
Yeah.
This is what that feels like.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was kind of, you know, one of the things we were seeing with quarantine too was like you got to get consistent. Like you got to get some consistent. You got to put the work in, and like, you know, and obviously you've reaped the benefits of that now.
Right.
You know, qualifying for TFX. You know, was it top 1,000 in quarterfinals? I think and your best open finish since 2014, I think 2014 to 2015. So like, you know, the consistency has shown itself, and like the mindset has shown itself to really make a huge difference. And obviously there's more to that. Like, you know, you have been like better with your nutrition. I think you're in a little bit better spot as far as like life stress goes right now. You know, so all that makes a big difference as well. But
yeah. And I mean, it's kind of crazy too with kind of going back in October last year, I think it was, when I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. And I mean, having that on top of everything, finding the right medication, and really having to truly clean up my diet a lot more because everything is so much more sensitive now. It just put me a little bit more in tune with my body,
for sure,
nutrition wise and training wise. So, but it's been good.
One of the cool things too about like the mindset shift was like, you know, somebody gets diagnosed with that and they're like, you know, they find like, man, there are a lot of foods that I can't eat. And that's like a huge obstacle in the day of like, I'm going to try this and I might get sick to my stomach and have a really shitty training day, or I might not, you know? But it was cool from my end because I knew that you were ready to tackle that and ready to handle that obstacle. And so it wasn't like okay, I really need to buckle down. I need to get on Kyrie and, you know, be like, hey, I know you're feeling like crap today. Like you got to get in and do this. So I was like, I already knew it was like very comforting as a coach to know like, okay, she has this handled. She's going to be able to get through this. It's going to be a bumpy few weeks, months, but like at the end of it, she's going to, you know, continue to train, continue to come out on top. And still be on the right trajectory for her goals, you know?
I mean, it was almost like the universe knew that something was going to happen and that I needed to have it together for this. Not that this is like life threatening or anything, but it is life changing.
For sure.
You know, I was the person that would have a bagel every single day. I was eating sandwiches all the time. And now I'm like, gluten-free, please.
Yeah.
Gluten-free, dairy-free, nothing spicy.
Yeah.
Welcome to the new normal.
Right. Yeah, right. So it was you know, from a coach, like it's very appreciative to know like your athletes, like despite the obstacles that they're facing, like you can kind of be there as support when they need you, but know that they're like, you know, able to navigate obstacles that pop up in their way, you know?
Yeah. For sure.
Well, so what's next here? Like, what do you have? What's on the horizon?
So actually next weekend I have just a small local competition. It's kind of cool. The gym that I was at in Charlotte, they host, they get a few gyms together in the area and do like fittest gym in Charlotte kind of thing. So it's kind of nice to be like a forever member over there. So they always let me come back whenever they do competitions like this. So that's next Saturday.
Okay.
And then I'm supposed to find an individual competition at some point.
Yep.
So that's next.
Yep.
And planning a wedding.
Yeah. Have you guys set a date yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I don't know. We've talked about just trying to go to the courthouse and getting married.
That's what it's coming.
Save some money, maybe go somewhere for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, we've been together for 7 years, so it's just really a piece of paper making a legal relationship.
Right. Right. Yeah. Right on.
We're not trying to have some big, huge wedding or anything. So
yeah. Right on. Well, cool. I think this puts us right around an hour. So this is typically when we try and wrap it up. But do you have anything else you want to add in or talk about? Or
no, I think I'm good.
Okay, sweet. How do people find you on or get a hold of you?
So my Instagram, I'm not really on Facebook very much, but my Instagram is my last name, Weant, WEANTK, and then the number 2.
Right.
I'm really just on Instagram.
Yeah, I think that's like where everybody's kind of just navigating to now.
Yeah, I have a TikTok, but I just use it to watch videos.
Also, I think people our age are just like creeps on TikTok. That's it.
What are the little kids doing these days?
Yeah, what's cool?
Oh, that's cool. Stay hip.
Yeah. So, well, right on, Kyrie. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. If you guys are listening on YouTube, please hit the like and subscribe button. We're going to be putting out more content as usual. You might have seen an uptick in some of our content on YouTube. If you guys are watching on YouTube or just discovered us on YouTube, please head over to our Instagram. Follow us on Instagram. That's where we post most of our stuff. Blacklisted.hq. If you guys found us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever, you can also like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Instagram. Previous tag that was just said. Well, yeah, thanks for coming on, Kyrie. It was a good chat.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll catch you guys next time.